Hello, Orville Nation and Nerd TV and Dark Matter Nation. Hello, everybody. Just an amazing start to season 2 and the new beginnings with a new year. And yes, that's like you can already see what Katie's gonna say. Welcome, Joseph and Katie.
Hello.
Happy New Year.
Hi.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Joe,
You know what?
to do?
I promised twists, turns, shocks, and surprises. And was this like the biggest shock yet?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it was. See, you promised the twists and turns, but not 4 bullets to the abdomen. Like,
Well,
I yelled. I actually yelled. I scared my cat.
it's funny. You had to leave early last week,
Mhm.
and Mark Ben David plays one stayed with us, and then we got into like its in-depth discussion about it. So now you can actually go back and watch the episode.
I got a little warning from
yes.
you guys. Like, everyone was like, "Don't watch the end of the episode."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, no! I was heartbroken. Like, come on. He's a
Joe made sure to put an extra bullet in at the very end. Just to make sure one
gosh, in case there was any doubt whatsoever, just shoot it right there. So he's genuinely dead.
He is.
He's not coming back.
He's not coming back, but Chase Corso's still kicking around.
I had ships set up for him. He had multiple ships.
Dude's going to be very angry, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
That's not a spoiler. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I feel the rage. No,
Did you enjoy the episode, Katie, though?
I really did. I really did. Like, 6, I'm like, come on, dude, I really liked you. Come on, dude. And now that rug's just swept right out from under you. I was falling backwards this entire episode, I feel like.
Great. Good to hear it.
And let me guess, it's going to be like this for the entire 2nd season.
I'll leave you to decide.
I'll tell you what, it's a great way to write TV, but I hate it.
Katie, I know you only have us whenever you need to leave. You just raise your hand and let me know, okay?
I have about 3 minutes. I'm so sorry to all the viewers who are like, but she left early last week. This one wasn't my fault. I posted a video, it went super viral, and now I'm getting interviews from nationwide news networks.
If you guys haven't seen the video, go check it out. It's basically Katie telling us why we shouldn't eat icicles. And I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it's very informative, but also your delivery is terrific. So kudos to your, 20 million views?
Yeah, something like that, combined with Twitter and TikTok, and it's just completely blown up. So I promise I'll be back next Monday for sure.
All right.
You want to tell us real quick what your interviews are today? Can you?
Yeah, so I have CBS, I have Fox News, and I have Inside Edition. And then I had BuzzFeed earlier.
Wow.
And let's see what else. There's been a lot. And I was on TMZ. There's nothing that can prepare you for seeing your face when you just open up an app. Like, no, it's completely unwarranted. So, yeah, you can tell, haven't done the hair today, haven't done anything. I've just been responding to messages if I can I use your video? Can we use your video? So the only major network I haven't been on is CNN and BBC. So we'll see what the late night shows do as well.
Wow. All right, let me introduce everybody else. And ladies first, I want everybody to get a nice warm welcome to, by the way, Happy New Year to both. And how's New Year's, Joe?
Uneventful. I was actually asleep by midnight. So same old.
And you, Katie?
I was actually on the road driving to Michigan. So I celebrated it right before going into the time change, which was really fun.
Cool. All righty. I want to introduce everybody, give a nice warm welcome to Nina Infinity. Hello, Nina.
Hey!
Happy New Year.
What's up, everyone? Happy New Year.
Hello.
Thank you so much. Hi, Joe. As
Hello.
always, it's a pleasure to see
You're too
Katie.
kind.
Katie, I just want to say, Katie, that you are like the I don't know if you've ever seen that episode of The Simpsons because you're so young, but like one of the original Simpsons episodes, the I didn't do it boy. You know, when he like goes on the Krusty channel and he says, I didn't do it because he wrecks the set. You're like the don't eat poop girl now. So
I am. That's what I'm going to be known for.
yeah.
I have people that did school talks with messaged me and be like, "You're the poop girl, aren't you?" I'm like, "Why are you on this app? You're 6 years old."
Oh my God, it's crazy. I love it. I love
need a
it.
shirt that says it.
But you do definitely some good merch there for you. And just want to say congratulations to you. And I'm so excited for the show. Let's get the other people in here, PJ. Thank you.
I want to introduce Adega next. And if you guys can just go ahead and put your channels in so everybody can sub to you. And I want to introduce Dr. Adega Outlaw. Welcome, Dr. and author Adega Outlaw.
Good evening, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I hate to say it, but I have to hop out now. I'm so sorry.
Bye.
Okay.
I didn't have time to ask her, but I was wondering if she was getting any unusual hate mail from the poor girl that was eating the icicle.
That would be funny.
In subsequent versions, I think she put a heart over her, right? Her.
Oh, okay.
You know, actually, maybe she won't complain because it'll be viral. Like it could be viral for her too.
Yeah,
that's true.
So, I want to welcome another friend before we bring in Ian. I want to bring in another friend from the community. He is a very valued member of our greater nerd community, and good friend to all of us here. I want to welcome Culture Casino. Welcome, Culture.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very honored. I got to say it backstage, and I got to at least say hi to Katie because now she's a rock star. But I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so very much for having me on, PJ. I appreciate it. I'm honored.
It's going to be a great conversation today, and thank you for joining us. We are very honored to have, of course, Joseph with us and the creator of Dark Matter for the beginning of season 2, and it was an amazing season 1. It was an amazing season 1 experience, and we also have Ian. No, it wasn't good, Joe.
Well, I think it was good. You know, as a creator, whenever you sort of rewatch those episodes, you're always like, I should have done this, or we could have been, But I was generally pretty happy with it.
I don't know. You're being very humble because you brought back some amazing things with the android being able to store an electrical charge. That was really important because going into season 2, towards this end of season 1, you had to power a door open. So you had to use that same thing all over again to open a door from a different android. It was so brilliant. I love that so much.
Thank you. We try to be consistent.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
And of course, that's very, very understandable. And maybe you want to elaborate on that in a few minutes, Joe. I want to introduce. We're very honored to bring one of the great minds behind Dark Matter, and of course, Ian is responsible for a lot of what we see on camera. Is that correct, Joe?
Absolutely, all the sets. The Raza set, everything from the quarters to the corridors to the bridge. All our space station sets, all those amazing labs, and even sort of the look of the ship. We worked with the concept artists to sort of get the look at the Raza right, look at those space stations right. He was introduced to me as a mad genius. I've never seen him mad. I seem kind of sort of annoyed at times when things weren't as perfect as because he is kind of a perfectionist, but he is a genius. The lovely and talented Ian Brock.
Sorry, Joe. I got about 5% of that. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I was just talking about the fact that people refer to you as the mad genius. And I've kind of never seen you mad. I've seen you kind of irked at times when basically it's like, oh, we don't have enough money for this particular thing. And it's like, okay, I'll find another way to do it. And he always does.
Yeah, well, that's nature of the beast.
Yeah.
I do want to say also that Ian has been not only production designer for Dark Matter, but he's worked with Utopia Falls, Killjoys, and he was just telling us backstage that he was now working on Titans. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, Ian?
Yeah, I'm on season 3 of Titans right now. So we shot 2 blocks of 5, 12, 6 blocks, 6.5. Anyway, yeah, we're down for the holiday break. It's a long one, so people can travel quite far and come back. We're supposed to start back on the 18th of January, and it goes till the end of June. So it's paced out nicely. This is my first season there, but it's been really exciting, and there's a learning curve.
How has it been? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem.
I was just going to ask you, because we've talked about it in our show. How is it going COVID wise? Is it hard? Is it difficult?
It's difficult. Everyone's got there's protocols. Obviously, we all follow. We're getting tested. I'm in a pod that gets tested weekly. A lot of the cast and the on-set people, camera department get tested. 2 or 3 times or 4 times a week even. So we travel with a bunch of trailers full of medical staff. And everyone's sanitizing and staying apart, but people are still falling ill, not on set necessarily, but they're getting tested positive and then they're going away for 2 weeks at a time. Like Warner Brothers has been great in terms of having all that available and all the backup stuff for it, and getting paid to go and be away for 2 weeks. And people are working from home. Most of the art department's working from home. There's 3 or 4 of us in the office. People like set dressers have to be there. All the set designers can pretty well do their own thing in their own space. And a lot of the sets are designed, like a lot of the Dark Matter sets were designed by someone who was working was in Chicago the whole time. We did the main space station on season, like the Raza season 1. Stephanie lived in Chicago at the time and did all that remotely. So that's quite normal for the art department in these days anyway.
Yeah.
So people we're working with shows. A lot of the designers are working on shows in Europe and that sort of thing. So it hasn't been a big adjustment for the art department, but physically, the physical stuff, we can't be. We're in zones, so we can't be on the set at the same time the cast is there or other pods, and so we all clear out. There's sort of complicated scheduling of how everyone comes and goes and when we're allowed into what stage. And it breaks down even to like over hours where the lighting crew is coming in now, then the set deck crew is here, and everyone's overlapping and dancing around each other. So everyone's being careful anyway.
Oh wow! Well, we hope everything goes along smoothly.
Yeah.
I think Joe brought up maybe a good icebreaker question for both of you, for Joseph and Ian. What would you gentlemen do differently if you had to go back and go back into season 1 or 2 of Dark Matter? To both of you.
Honestly, it's a tough question because I was actually very happy with the way it all turned out. Really, the fact is though, we were somewhat constrained budget-wise, so it would always be nice to have the freedom that money gives you. On the other hand, I have to say that we had significantly less money than a lot of pretty much any other of the sci-fi shows had, and yet I think we looked a lot better than a number of them, and a lot of that had to do with obviously producing on the page, from a script standpoint, but a lot of that had to do from a visual standpoint, and this is where sort of Ian comes in. And one of the truly amazing things that Ian was able to do was create these amazing set, and when I say amazing, I mean just visually, but just texturally as well. If you check out like the walls, if you're ever on set, the floors textured, the ceilings textured, and Ian can talk about his process, but he would go to like these kind of mass industrial sales and pay like 5 cents a pound for these materials that they were going to throw away, and you would think, well, what the heck are you going to use these for? And they become part of the walls. And I mean, this episode was the prison set, and Ian can talk about that in more detail. But the work that went into the prison set was amazing. But obviously the construction work, but the thought that went into building the sets was equally amazing.
one thing with that was all the prison cells, the bunk beds and things came out of an actual prison that was being decommissioned in Kingston, Ontario.
Wow.
And we got them at auction. They're from the old Kingston pen, and it's they're old fiberglass cement prison bunks. They had a clean line that we could use actually in a spaceship, so we actually picked them up from there. So
You know what I noticed was missing in your little prison cells though, that I was like, a bathroom.
water function.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was like, there's no toilet in there.
There's actually a kind of a half circle designed into the wall, which was the the privacy thing that would slide in and out. You'd never see it.
Oh, that's funny.
There's actually something in there that was actually had that function, but yeah, we didn't really explain it too much. And that's right. So. That's
funny. I just want to say, Ian, that when I was younger in high school, I took drama class, and while I like acting, and it was especially improv was really fun. One of my favorite things to do was set design, and I went into that, and I just have the utmost respect for people in your line of work, because you are basically what brings a visual thing to life. So, and especially with dark matter and anything sci-fi, right now, I'm so kind of sick of the CG and the overuse of the CG effect that's being used in sci-fi nowadays. And so this is one of the reasons I love dark matter, was just such an exceptional job in the set designs. And I just wanted to let you know that.
I do have to bring that up too. Joe has been blessing us with bringing in other guests as well. And almost universally, I think to a person that's been here has said how much they really enjoyed the sets in one way or another. And of course, the audience, and I'm one of them, because I'm a big fan of the show. Just, you are the genius. You really are.
Well, it's an army of set designers who actually know what they're doing. So, yeah. And we're working pretty lean and mean on this compared to other series of shows that I've worked on, like Dark Matter particularly, where it's literally 3 or 4 set designers working really quickly. But I think we had a really good team. They've since gone on to do a lot of stuff on Killjoys, and it's basically half the team from The Expanse right now, and then also stars a lot of the Star Treks that are shooting in town in Toronto anyway. So there's the 2 of them now. So,
oh wow.
Yeah. So I've had pretty good luck with having great set designers.
The Expanse is great sets too, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And right now, working with all the people doing all the post like the playback effects. They all went off Dark Matter to The Expanse actually. So.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah. We sort of travel as a pack, but.
Ian, I was just wondering if is Alex Gatz part of your team?
No.
Oh, okay, just wondering. Sorry.
Yeah.
We do have a question. You were going to say something. I'm sorry, Ian.
No, I just reading that question. We have a plastic injection molder that it's not injection molding; it's vacuum forming. But we have a couple of companies we use and we'll create our own molds, or we'll have the molds created for us. So this was a custom mold for all these panels, and they all have a sticker on them saying like International Galactic Panel Company somewhere on them, because there's sort of obviously a trope of sci-fi stuff is that we made a couple of different panels that we just recycled, and these ones were, I think we had 4 different kinds that we could put any which way. So that you just keep using them, and they seem to do the trick. I noticed on this, compared to the lighting's pretty subtle, like in terms of what's happening with a lot of the new LED lighting we're doing on spaceship shows now. It's not as brightly lit as I would have thought it might have been, in a normal thing.
You mean the picture we're looking at?
The picture we're looking at now. I'm actually a little shocked at how few practical lights there are in it.
Ian, do you have a personal favorite, movie or TV show that's
Um, Ooh, that's a tricky one. Yeah, I've got tons of those. Yeah, I mean, I like stuff like anything Guillermo del Toro does. So I sort of know some of the people that work on them, obviously, but I really like his style.
Nice.
And, yeah. Sorry. Anyway, yeah. So I would say that anything sort of more in his vein, or just really textured, like Crimson Peak, something like that. So, or and I can't wait to see Nightmare Alley, which is coming up and coming. Yeah.
Ian, Gap Stargate asks, how do you get started in this business, or how did you get started in this business?
Personally, yeah, I started in film and theater school, and I just actually started working, first, second year university, and started in art history and film. So that just kept going from there, and always been really interested in building sets and making stuff and just designing things. So I just was all like not acting or any of that stuff, and I never really wanted to direct either. I just like making things and putting it together. So that's what I, sort of my career arc has been doing that. I worked in theater a lot when the film business at the time was not super busy in Toronto, and I did a lot of theaters. So on the theater, you get to do everything. Like, I'd be the props master, and I'd build the set, and then, sleep on the bench overnight to get up and do the lights in the morning. But in Toronto's got a pretty active theater scene. So I did a lot of that, and then I literally started off as one of a crew of 7 on the Kids of Degrassi, doing art department and grip and electric back, when I was 23 or 4. So, I've come from that route, and then always once I got more into building, just kept in that lane. And also videos. I did a lot of rock videos when they first came out in the early 80s.
Really?
Lots and lots of rock videos where you try something new every day. Whether it's like you're doing three videos a week sometimes, and you're just building stuff, and it's all one big experiment. So it's that's the way I got into it, basically, through that. And then I took set design courses and drafting courses and that sort of thing. So I drafted sets on features for years as an art director and first assistant and set designer. So.
Well, Culture, were you going to ask something?
Oh no, I just many things were already answered. I have nothing to ask. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. So this picture we were seeing of the prison cell, Ian, my apologies. I just want to let you.
Oh, and we lost.
And it might be more noticeable than you think.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Just so you know. This is beautiful. This is a beautiful image. How did you guys go about doing this, Ian?
Well, in fact, we had to recycle our sets so that we started with concept art. This was someone named Sanford who was doing this, and he would we do one sort of standard set, and then we do 2 or 3 reworkings of the same set, and then we have 2 or 3 of the same sets. We just keep bicycling them around. So this may have ended up being painted because it's all one sort of prison ship. This would get painted into I think this might have been the garbage chute at some point, or it could have been the the laundry room, or it was we sort of change all these things around, and that's the one part when you have to recycle stuff. When you're recycling sets, you can pre-design things so that there's this little choreography of how things move in and out, and. We'd have walls that would blow away, doors, certain amount of doors that would move in and out. We tend not to light from the ceiling so much anymore. It's not a big look that we do. So, this one I can't remember how many variations there would have been on this one set at any given time. But we'd have 2 or 3 looks for each set using the same paneled room, and they'd be pretty drastic repaints or rebuilds. Not rebuilds so much, but just reworkings.
To me, it feels very airline.
Yeah, the spaceship panel thing always has that kind of that feel where it's modular.
Well, yeah, it looks like the inside of a travel trailer or an RV. You know, very similar. Yeah,
But
yeah, I
in
like
fact,
that.
that shelf in the back corner is actually a prison ladder from
Oh,
prison.
wow, that's
Believe it or
awesome.
not, it's a bunk. It's the ladder to a bunk bed. It's
So a lot of these things, you said you use a vacuum former for a lot of these lightweight panels. Are these being adhered to the wall via Velcro, or are you using
no, they're
other
stapled on
fasteners?
generally. They're
Staples?
They're
Okay.
stapled on, yeah,
Yeah,
or
okay.
glued potentially,
Yeah.
but mostly stapled. They're screwed on.
Wow.
Yeah, and then they just be then we could take them off and recycle them into different permutations.
Right, and you can tuck your electrics away that way too.
Yeah, that's right.
it.
Yeah, so everything's in behind, and then all the doors work. It's like they're on pulley systems.
Right.
Yeah, and then the flooring would be 90% of the stuff. There's so many stunts that we have. It's pretty thick, like almost 1.5 inch thick rubber matting that we just keep pulling up and taking down. It takes paint really well, but it's also great for stunts, especially in the prison set on this episode where we just had the entire floor was 1.5 inch thick rubber mat, giant puzzle mat, so that people could get smashed around and jump off railings and things like that. And they're sort of protected as they're doing all that.
Is it EVA? Is it a rubberized material?
It's a dojo material. It's like it's a dense foam from a dojo mat. It's a martial arts mat.
Yeah.
That we get. So they're I think I've actually carried them around like a tractor trailer full of them so you have enough that you can do like an 80-foot by 80-foot area, and they just keep recycling forever until finally cut them up small enough you can't use them anymore.
I bet you're like an ace carpenter, right, Ian?
Actually, no, I'm actually the worst carpenter ever. I'm terrible. I can't put two pieces of wood together. I mean, I could turn on the 3D printer really well, but that's a bit,
Yeah.
I also really like the set, the design for the room that Jace Corso stayed in, like later. And I love when like the lawyer walked in, Joe, and she was like, oh, "This is like the best room we can get for you." And he was like, well, "It's pretty nice to me." And she's like, "Really? Okay." Like that was like such a great scene, and I really loved that. Like when you looked outside, that like when he was like looking at the city, I was wondering if that was like how much of that was CG and how much of that was set, like the way that
that was all CG. Right?
That was all CG. Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are really amazing, and I like the LED lighting that's tucked into that strip all the way around the doorway there.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
That was the big experiment to get that done. Just to say, like, technically, you're locking people in with a light, so it's a pretty cheap way of doing it, in a sense.
Yeah.
But it worked, and it was a pretty big set. It's obviously big set extensions as well when you're looking different views of it. But at one point we had a mesh in the railings that looked spacey. There's a little hexagonal mesh, but then the second we turned the camera on, it all buzzed like crazy. It just strobed like a bad tie. And we had to tear it. It was all welded in, and we had to ungrind it.
I remember that.
Wow.
Yeah.
This set was great. It was it really sold the prison. I mean, it did. It was amazing.
I mean, it was pretty luxurious for a space prison, but
it was
fancy. Yeah, I'm not sure the cuisine would have met with my standards, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm surprised that device made it into the show a little bit. So
hey, it looked like the really cool frozen yogurt machine.
Yeah, it was kind of fun to design.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Joe, did we? I didn't check in the pictures that you sent. The behind the scenes pictures. Do we have a picture of how the prison looked before Ian worked on it?
There were some early shots of the cells and everything sort of going up.
Yeah.
Part of that, it was basically just a stage, a sound stage.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a dirty warehouse that used to be a steel stamping plant. The floor was so greasy. If anything fell on the floor, it was instantly dirty. it was literally before we moved in, they were taking like people with a broom or just brushing off the not even scraping, just brushing off the flaky paint on all the beams just so it wouldn't fall on the sets. It was
wow.
Yeah. And the shocking thing is, after us, Big Brother Canada went in there and they actually built living quarters inside this place. Yeah.
That's funny. Joe, I have another question. This is more of a writing question, but in that scene when Two goes into sorry, I forget her number again. She goes into the virtual space with Nyx. They're talking about like how cold it is, and I know it's like, you know, it's Montreal and it's cold. Was that like running?
It's actually Toronto.
Oh, was
and
it
that
Toronto?
was actually, they shot that on location. It was the coldest, I think, the coldest day of the year. It was really cold. I felt bad, actually. It was just, I mean, it's one of those rare instances where we actually shoot exterior, and it just happened to be the coldest day of the year.
It looked freezing, and then like I love how Nyx was like, well, you know, they could have had us on a beach somewhere, but this is where they picked. Like, was that like kind of like, did you mean to put that in
actually,
there?
that wasn't a line that was added afterwards when I realized how cold the location was. I was like, well, you know, I guess.
That was great. I really laughed at that line.
It was cool. Yeah.
I've been to Canadian cold winters, so I'm like, I know this feeling.
This is the warden's version of a joke or something.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
It was brilliant. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Joe's the real warden.
Thank you.
Joe, I liked, by the way, when 1 and 5 wake up. I like that right before 6 comes in, that there's that moment. It's almost kind of poetic when they're trying to recall where they were before. I was pointing a gun at you, and you were pointing at me, and you thought that we had done it. It was, I don't know, it's just a little tiny bit of dialogue that I thought was very well written.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's, you know, kind of important to kind of set the mood for these characters, and also, you know, just kind of remind our audience as we kind of put the pieces together, and then of course do the big reveal of 6 coming in and kind of lowering the boom on them.
I'm the bad guy.
Yeah,
I'm the spy.
Well, he's the good guy.
The slap was great.
I don't know. See, this is, and that's the other cool thing is I mean, I can see a lot of twists and turns in the show. It's really brilliantly done. So I'm enjoying it immensely. So thank you.
Thank you.
Oh man,
are you basically just up to episode 2?
I've burned through a couple more. It's hard to stop. Your show's hard to stop watching. Okay. I'm sure you understand. And I'm late to the party, unfortunately. PJ has introduced me to a lot of great things, so I have to thank PJ for that, and you know, my fellow friends here as well. But I just this particular show had escaped me when it was being broadcast early on, and so I'm very grateful. You have no idea. So
thank you.
Yeah, it's very enjoyable. I can't say enough positive things about it. So it's very good. It's very good.
And I
have the all important question for you, Ian. Were you part of the whiskey club?
What? Sorry, I missed that. Was that for me? Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, he's talked about having his little whiskey collection on the up there by where you guys worked, and people would keep coming in all the time, and then he's been sharing them on Twitter. I wasn't sure when you were there working if you were part of that group.
Yeah, it was okay for a while. Then it got a little out of hand. But where I was like, we're really busy, and everyone's like running out. It's like, oh, it's such a chore to go drink this. You know,
it's a tradition.
It was a tradition. But there's the there's the station.
Our gorgeous establisher.
Yeah,
it really was. It was a cool shot, well done with the computer graphics, right? That was 3-dimensional design.
Yeah, like we did a sort of concept art first, and then handed it off to the animators.
They did a really good job. They blocked out the windows. The lighting in there is perfect. Yeah. I'm imagining you probably could have filled that in with like some kind of green screen or blue screen tech if you needed to. But yeah, it was really. I was like, dude, that thing popped. It looked good. I liked it a lot.
The weird thing in our concept art was the scale of our earth movers on there was just way out of whack, but this looks better once it was finally finished.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever make models for stuff like this?
Not really. We model it like digitally. Everything's modeled pretty much.
Yeah, and it really makes it so you can do those great introductory shots that you can have a long shot that works into your establishment. It was really well done. I can see the cinematography in my head right now. That was really cool.
I mean, the big thing with doing this is trying to keep it in the art department and not have it control, so we have it up front. And I guess a lot of the ways they're shooting things now, in the sort of with the sandbox approach, like the Mandalorian, you have to have that all up front. So this,
everything's completely, it's all final pixel, so it's all there behind them right in real time. Yeah, and they drop the green screen behind the actors. If they need to add an element later. So yeah. It's cool stuff. Yeah, that Unreal Engine tech is amazing.
It's So and we're all trying to switch into that as we go as we progress in our careers. It's like everything we're working on Unreal Engine now. So we pretty well concept everything. Every location gets concept in now, which is a great luxury, but it works out really well.
Yeah, and I bet you it works great for directors and showrunners and creators alike because you can block everything in advance. That's really cool. Again, I love it. So even as somebody who's just observing. So,
Joe, Time Prophet asks if the food was porridge.
What was it made out of, Ian?
I don't know. Victoria would know that one.
We gotta get Victoria, our props master, on.
Yeah,
That's something as well.
It's like,
it really did look like frozen yogurt. I mean, to me, it was like.
It looked cool. Like oatmeal to me.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. I don't know. You'll see a photo that I supplied from behind the scenes photo, and the consistency is I don't know. It's not quite oatmeal.
It was pretty thick. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Joe, are you familiar with what John Burns means, or anybody with RT season?
Rotten Tomatoes.
Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. This is what happens when you don't sleep.
It gets better and better.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it did.
Joe, how many takes was the slap?
I wasn't on set for that, but I'm sure it was. I think it was Amanda Tapping directing this episode. I think usually you get your 3, 4.
You get your 3. Get your 3.
Yeah.
And I remember the decontamination. We all got. The whole crew was subjected to it too, just because the cast was all in their underwear. So we all had to go through it first before they did, just to, it was fun.
Sure. Yeah. I remember the test.
Speaking of which, that was really PG because I figured when they say strip down, they mean like all the way, usually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In prisons and anyways.
Mm-hmm. To be properly deloused, yes, they do.
Yeah. Nyx was wearing a really nice bra.
She was.
Yeah.
So this is interesting that we introduced kind of 3 recurring characters in this one. Nyx, played by Melanie Liburd, Eric's Nero, I think, played by Mike Doped, and Jessica Sipos' brother, Sean Sipos, who are introed in this episode and end up tagging along for a bit. And I want to say they're all fantastic to work with. I'm going to try to get them to come on the show as well eventually. I have to say, Melanie is probably the nicest individual I've ever worked with. I mean, just, insanely nice. Insanely nice.
That's awesome. Nyx's character, I was really weary of her from the first moment because she was in the decontamination with them, and you got the feeling that she was like entering the prison kind of like they were all new prisoners. But then she gets in there and everyone knows who she is, including the guards and like everyone, and you're like, wait a minute, this girl's been here before, or like knows everything. So like how is she getting, like why is she coming in with them first? Like there was like a whole thing running in my mind when I first saw it.
I felt like it wasn't her first rodeo,
Yeah.
excuse me. So I'm thinking, oh, she's been here before. Yeah, it was really cool. And by the way, Mike did a great job with his character. It was really awesome.
Yeah, Mike's always great.
Yeah.
Yeah, an amazing actor. And just checking. Let me see. And Jen, who's the actor? The actor who's from Nikita. He plays the warden, Carlo Rota. Okay.
Oh, yes, Carlo Rota, who is a terrific actor, but also an amazing chef and gourmand. I mean, between setups, we would talk about food. I think he had his own cooking show.
He did
for a while.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that had to be you had to have had opportunities to sample his creations. So, yeah, he would be very popular on a set that you were on, I would think. Yeah.
I also wanted to say that I really disliked Six, and I was like, the whole time I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Because like he gets like he finds out that he's being manipulated, and I'm like, "Come on, man! Like really? Like you didn't know that? Like you didn't know that they could plant like." And he's like, "Oh, they told me all the memories," and I was like, "Maybe they're false memories," and like all this stuff. Like you just go and take their word for it. Like
he's certainly torn, but the fact is that he knows the people on board the ship are bad. They do bad things, and then when they deliver that the piece of technology that destroys the world, that planet, and kills some 10,000 people, that is the moment where he decides, I've got to do something about them. And, in an earlier episode, he was headed that way, and he has a conversation with Five. And the reason he's having that conversation with Five, where he's kind of upset, you don't know at the time, but he's basically worried about her. And he's like, you better leave, because he knows what's coming. He knows what's coming, but he can't actually tell her. And she just is kind of offended that, she just thinks he's, you're just kind of
she's a
playing
child. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's all good.
And John Burns, thank you for the super chat. I have to go back and find your other one because it's off my radar, John Burns. So I'm going to go back and find it. And here's a picture of before Ian got his hands on.
Well, he already had his hands on it. It was actually just,
that's right.
Coming up.
Wow.
Yeah, I think we built 24 cells in total, and they're all connected in through corridors and corridors to the rest of the prisons, all the offices, the warden's office. I think the fiery inferno was my favorite one. But I don't know if you've seen that yet. Actually, it's in episode 202.
Oh yeah, the incinerator room.
The incinerator room.
Yeah. But most of our panel has already watched the second season, so they know the incinerator room.
Yeah, that was good too. That was excellent.
With the conveyor belt.
Very believable.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool scene. I kind of cooked along a little bit farther than I intended to because it's such a good watch. I'm gonna keep saying good things because I can't get away from it. But it was an amazing experience for somebody who, like I said, I was just brought into this by these amazing people. So thank you very much, Joe.
Who's your favorite character so far, Culture?
Oh, well, are you kidding? One.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and see this is amazing, and so this was all physically built out in this warehouse. So you built an interconnected set. You basically just took this whole steel mill over. Then that's just incredible.
Yeah, it was the only one good thing. It had really good heating. That was the only thing that worked in it because it was all brand new that we put in to use. And then. So halfway through the season, this set's still standing, but it became 4 other sets. It's actually, I don't know if that's a big spoiler alert, but like the ceiling panels come down and make walls, and we did alleyways inside it after that. We kept changing it up.
It didn't. Was it with the cells you used to make a corridor?
We took the cells apart. We used those as corridors. They forklifted them off the back of the platform. And stuck them all together to make a corridor. And then the ceiling came down and stood up and made a wall in an alley.
Wow.
It just kept getting. We recycle it as we go through. Yeah.
Man, it's a good way to stretch your budget.
It really works. Because it's this stuff was pretty tight, in the scheme of things.
Dave, I know you have to drop off, so just drop off whenever you need to. Thank you.
I wanted to apologize. It happens every once in a while. I don't know why I'm having some serious issues on my computer at this end. I don't think it's my computer, it's the network, and I don't want to interrupt anybody. So I'll see you guys later. And thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Vega.
Thanks,
Good to see you, Vega.
So, Culture, if one was your favorite character, were you mad in this episode?
Oh, I was irritated many points. Joe does a good job of irritating his audience. I was irritated along the way many times. Thank you.
I was really mad too. I was really mad.
Yeah.
You said that you almost stopped watching.
Yeah,
no,
I did.
absolutely not. Oh,
No,
really?
I
You
did.
did? Oh,
Yeah.
all right. No.
Me and my
I think
husband, we loved one, and then when that happened, we were like, no, because and then like this, and then he was like, no, like calm down, because second episode he's probably gonna come back, like it's probably gonna be a lie or like something, and then he didn't, and we were, and I was so mad. I was like, he's not coming back.
Yeah.
And,
Well, my second favorite character is 2. So.
Yeah.
He's around.
I was thrilled. And again, you don't get a lot of great romance that comes in with most shows, and there was an opportunity there that I kind of enjoyed. There was a little dancing around, and those kind of elements in a good show, good sci-fi those are needed. Those are really needed.
Ian, who's your favorite character?
I think Jodelle, definitely. I think
Nice.
yeah. Definitely, she was the kind of the coolest and most rat-like and survived. She was the survivor.
The best. Yeah.
Yeah, she's right there.
Yeah, there she is. Yeah. Looking very colorful.
Oh yeah.
John Burns, let me just. John Burns said in his first super chat, and thank you, Nina, that he thought that the entire season 2 was going to be in prison. Interesting.
Yeah.
I did too.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, like at the very first episode, I was like, "Oh God, this whole season's gonna be in prison, isn't it?" And then
could have been cool. Could have been cool.
Maybe.
Yeah. And there would have you could have had an opportunity where the reveal for the loss of one was like halfway through or somewhere along the way. Yeah.
that was one of the things I was surprised about, was that it was episode 1. Because usually when characters die, it's the final episodes, or like it was.
Please don't spoil too much for me, guys. I've cooked through it a little ways, but
No. We're not saying anything else. You already seen this episode. That's what we're talking about.
I blame PJ for a new obsession. So thank you.
And I blame Simone Bailey, who's the one who got me started on this. Okay, I'm sorry. I just lost what I was going to say.
Sorry, PJ.
No, it's my fault. Ian, but both Ian and Joe, how did time and like were you guys rushing against the clock on frequently, or like were you racing against the clock and building stuff?
Absolutely. I think we were always racing against the clock because the production is staggered, and scheduling always a bitch, right, Ian? I mean, you would. We'd be like, well, we have to use that location by this date, but we need to clear out this set out of this stage by this point so we can start get people in there building. There was always that.
Yeah, I think, but it wasn't as crazy as like we weren't working every weekend or that sort of thing. Just sort of industry standard on a lot of other big shows like this, where it just go flat out for 30 days straight, and it never went that, and it was more organized than that, because Joe has so many scripts so far in advance, which is not the way a lot of shows work. Although it's have to deal with COVID, that we are getting our scripts in advance, and we've the story arcs are plotted out months in advance, so which works well. But I think
as it should be.
Yeah. Well, Joe would come in with like 5 or 6 episodes to start, and then we'd sort of have this season into what we started, so we know what we're doing for the whole period.
So COVID has forced the MALLOZZI methodology.
Yeah. and sadly, season 4 and 5, which I knew what they were going to be, never happened. So it was tragic. Yes.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah, the director was Amanda Tapping. And let me just correct the. Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
No, I was just going to say that it was amazing having Amanda. She directed episode 4 of season 1 and came back to do the premiere of her episode. Obviously, I worked with Amanda back on Stargate, but Dark Matter was my first time working with her in her capacity as a director, and she's been very busy as a director ever since.
Do you think she enjoys it more or as much as acting, Joe?
I think she enjoys it as much. I think so. I mean, she's great at it, and I mean, one of the nice things about Amanda is I want to say she's a people person, but also, you know, being an actor, she knows how to talk to the cast. So kind of in that respect, she has that going for her as a director. And she just, as I said, she's a people person. I remember when I invited when I was working on Stargate, my aunt came to visit set. And so we went down to set and we were watching a scene being shot. And then when they called cut, Amanda came right over and introduced herself to my aunt. And she's like, "Hi, I'm Amanda. Pleased to meet you." And to this day, my aunt always asks, "How's Amanda doing?" Like we're sort of like, best of pals.
That's nice. What is the Ian? What is the most difficult situation you found yourself in Dark Matter with regards to getting the job done?
I think it was in season 1, just getting the Raza up and running. That was it was a big job figuring it all out, and stuff coming in from all over. So it was a bit of a panic. I think we had 700 lighting cues on that, just like, different lights, and it's a lot of plugging in and wiring. And then sorting out some of the look, just sort of not really having a lot of time to prep the light, like the final camera test everything and make sure you're sort of learning as you go, especially with our airlocks and the transitions between different spaces and a lot of things. Having Joe, the other producer, not Joe, coming in and sort of throwing things out just like out of the blue randomly. That was always a fun challenge.
What were your inspirations for the Raza?
I mean, it's the standard arced spaceship look,
right? With
the ribs, and built on a certain center plan that you can. You always go around another corner. You never know where you are. It's got as much variety as you can possibly get. Mm-hmm. That's the big one. But pretty well every spaceship show I've ever seen was, you throw it in the mix at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's funny now. I think that like the Dragon SpaceX is copying movies now. It's come full circle.
Mm-hmm.
So.
You did the set design for that episode as well, right? The one with the heist when they go and get that like the blue like the bomb when they were lifted. Yeah, everybody loved that too. Everyone was we were all complimenting on how cool that effect was with the smoke coming out and the blue lights. That was really, really cool.
Yeah, that's the fun part of the job is doing props, obviously, as well. So,
wow, look at that.
I'm gonna ask both Ian and Joe a kind of a silly question, what might seem like a silly question, but if you're working on something that might be considered an iconic science fiction show, wouldn't it make sense to build something to the point where it can be conserved for the fans instead of tearing it down at some point?
Ooh. Well, I mean, if I assume the show was going to be iconic. I mean, you never know when you produce a series. And the fact is, we had half the money, but possibly less than a lot of the big name shot sci-fi shows had. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we just didn't have a space or the money to store all these great sets. Yeah. And as Ian said, we need to kind of repurpose and create other sets with them.
So it's really a question of the property, right? The property having some.
Yeah, I mean, all the materials are it's almost like it's like cardboard and dust, right? So and none of it's that structurally sound, other than the steel holding everything up, so it's safe. But there's so much of it. It literally, once you take it apart, it sort of falls apart on its own. It's a facade, you know, a mirage sort of thing. But all the drawings are there so that we can always rebuild it. You know,
when we do the mini series.
When we do the mini series, and we kept, you know, everyone's got the drawings, we've got the models.
And I kept a lot of the signage.
Yeah.
Including this giant, what was it? It was a Galactic Authority. It must be like 100-pound, like.
Oh, I know the one.
Yeah, they dropped it off in my office, and I'm like, I can't just leave this. And so it's in my storage locker, and I was like putting it in the car, and Ian, Ivan Bartok, who's our you guys met, he's our on-set producer. He's like, what can you possibly do with that? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm gonna keep it anyways. So it was that, and like I said, a bunch of other stuff. And I know you gave me a lot of the original design work, and that's, you know, I also have that. Yeah,
I've got the Hyperion 8 flash from the uniforms. That's one of the mementos.
Yeah.
So there's our toilet. That's actually on the side there.
I actually knew this one. I figured that one was like the toilet, but I meant like in the little cells, like in the white rooms, there was no bathroom. There was a sink, but there was no bathroom.
I'm pretty sure. Okay, maybe this is what I was referring to earlier. Yeah, because this is the isolation chamber. So
This is amazing.
Yeah, this was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of looks like a freezer pallet as a flooring material there.
It's actually custom, like that's just a custom cut.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
Yeah. Although we do use that. There's this like the incinerator is made out of the stuff that you put between boxes of freezer meat. That's every because you can't stack meat that high without it sticking all together. Boxes, so on pallets. So that's what we use, which is there's a secondary. It's like that thing Joe was mentioning earlier about having secondary uses.
Wow.
That's an interesting question. I worked with a designer who did have a trademark. He always had a frog on every set.
Really?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I don't. I have one number that I always use, which is the call letters from a kids show that was on in Canada called the Forest Rangers. So if I'm putting a number on something, it's always XMY 556. That's the only thing I have, like on a box or on a crate or something like that. That's the only thing I've ever repeated consistently over 30 years.
Yeah.
Joe, do you want to? I'm sorry, Culture. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just going to add to that. Just say that builders always have a signature they leave behind, usually somewhere between the walls. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Joe, do you want to address the mixed the mixed community, male and female?
Sure. I mean, it's the future.
It's the future. I was going to say
it's
that.
Progressive, you know.
It's progressive. It's the future, and all the women in there kick ass, so they can take care of themselves. They're fine.
Actually, that's the feeling. Like we're more evolved, even in the jails, we're more evolved, right? Even in the prisons. And this is another great question by John. Has Ian played any background characters in any episode?
Oh, hi, John. No. I was an extra in an episode of Degrassi once, getting on a bus in the middle, on a Greyhound bus in a cornfield somewhere, but that was about it. Yeah.
By the way, John did some concept work for us, right?
In Transfer Transit. Those are all his great illustrations in that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's
which was also cool.
Somewhere in the States, I know, Wisconsin. Anyway.
We love Transfer Transit, John.
Yes.
In fact, actually, I posted that clip where 5 runs through what Transfer Transit is, and it has John's images in the background that I've seen. So check it out on Twitter.
Yeah, and I like how they're like, well, how do you know all this? She says, well, I read it in this brochure. It was so great.
That was so great.
Oh, okay, kid, good job.
Her timing was always great, by the way. You know, I have had Judge Jadell on the show, but I was saying that, you know, a lot of the actors you have the read through, and Roger will come by the office and sort of kind of talk things through. Sometimes the other actors, usually Zoe would text and say, "Hey, can I change this, or why don't we do this?" Or on the day, Anthony would be like, "Hey, I want to eat this during this scene." Jodelle, however, it's neither good nor bad, but she would just, she never had any notes. She would read the script, and her instincts were always so good. Like, I never had to sort of go, come on set and say, "Actually, could you try it this way?" She just, she's a pro, and it makes sense because she's been acting since she was 2, I think, and she had more experience than I think anyone on that set.
Wow.
That's really cool.
Let me just make a correction. Jeff, thank you for the super chat. I got mixed up with John's. And John, when I find your super chat, I'm going to read it when I get my hands on it. Okay. Peggy asks, Joe and Ian, what would you like to do? I'm sorry, I cannot read when I'm live for some reason.
What would you like to do a cameo on if you had the chance?
Good question.
Hello.
What would Ian do a cameo on? Good chance. What show would Ian do a cameo on?
If anything I've worked on, don't know. I can't. Probably would have been on Lost Girl, trying to do some kind of a weird vampire in a corner.
Oh, that's cool.
You would make a fantastic weird vampire.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There was
Dark Matter season 5, says Rapunzel.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Yes.
We have a whole bunch of pictures that Joe has shared, but I do want to just address a few things in the story before we progress to those. Joe, do we know for sure that his dad's friend is kind of behind his death?
We don't know for sure, but if we had progressed to a season 4, we would have received confirmation.
Oh, that guy was so sketch. Like, I mean, come on. Like, he comes in and he says all that, like, BS, and then he's like, "Okay, get me the witness," and then the witness turns out dead, and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, this guy did it."
You can say all these things about this guy, but one of the things that he influenced me is I went down the set and I saw that I'd never seen a knot tied this way. It's called a Trinity knot. And I was like, "What? How did you get your knot like that?" And he's like, "Well, the wardrobe department did it." And so I asked Noreen Landry, who is our costume designer, and she was like, "Yeah." And she had like a dozen different knots, and it's called a Trinity knot. And I learned how to do it, and now that's my go-to knot. Whenever so basically, you can say a lot of bad things about the guy, but I mean, he did influence me, so I can't really talk ill of him.
That's hilarious. He's a good actor. Great actor.
Is.
Yeah.
And I have a question for Ian here. Now, Ian, please tell me that Joe did not make you plant a whole forest for the shot.
No. I'm pretty sure.
I don't even remember where that was.
I'm trying to. Was that at where the west the village was near the Dankers? No, different.
I don't remember.
Thinking. Oh,
It just looks cold.
Looks so cold.
At least we're in Canada.
yeah, it's somewhere near Toronto anyway. Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so funny too, because she like when she was like zipping up her jacket, she's like, "Oh, it's so cold." I was like, I felt cold when she like said that. I was like, I remember that cold.
It's a really good concept, though, Joe, because if you have the 2 prisoners, I mean, it's very well thought out. The 2 prisoners who have been engaged, if they really need to get it out of their system, they have this way to do it. I thought it was great thinking, Joe.
Yeah, and just from a visual standpoint, it just kind of opens the world up and gets, gets our characters outside, which, like I said, is something we rarely did.
Mhm.
I also love that line where you kind of got a sense of how much of like a-holes the guards were, where he's like, he shoots her anyway when she's like, no, don't shoot me, and I'll come quietly, and he's like, this is the best part of my day, like I live for this, and he just like shoots her anyway. I was like, yeah, that's funny.
And I loved the explanation behind the earpieces. I mean, this was very well thought out all the way through, and man. And then when you get into the next couple of episodes, I mean, things break down even better. Just brilliant.
Culture, don't you love sci-fi that makes sense?
Oh, dude, you have no idea. PJ, you know me. I don't like to complain about but I found myself for a very long time now pointing out, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't work. Why? We can't go back because that's different. I don't like that. I like it to be consistent. It's really important.
I honestly don't get it, which is why I have a hard time watching some shows. I think a lot of it has to do with preparation, right? I mean, from a story standpoint, you want to be consistent, set things up that pay off down the line, have answers to the questions, but also, as Ian mentioned, preparation also helps the production. You get those scripts early on in advance. Everybody's on the same page. People start planning ahead. That's all preparation, and there really should be no excuse for why that's not happening on a production.
Well, and when
Joe,
you have some, oh, sorry, PJ.
No, I'm just going to say that being said, for example, you gave some some nuances about the fact that prison life was very well thought out. The fact that people try to get out of doing things, they try to just improve the little bit of, like this guy who's trying to get to the infirmary. It just makes it very real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then it was so funny how Marcus tried to do that, and then it ends up being like, oh yeah, this guy got sent to electroshock therapy because he tried to get into that, and he's just like, oh, okay, that was a bad idea. Never mind, I'm going back to work.
Yeah, the perks of going there were not as over glowing lovely as the older fella made him out to be. So yeah, absolutely. But it would seem with so many brilliant people working on a show, Joe, that they're going to catch things because they've got that preparation, because they've got those scripts well in advance, because everybody's on the same page. Somebody's going to catch the logical inconsistencies along the way, right? I mean, that's usually what happens.
You would assume, yes. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of it is, like I said, preparation, and it's exactly that. If someone points out, well, we can't do this because it contradicts something we did. The other point is, the person in charge saying, oh, thanks for pointing that out. I'll go back and change that, rather than keep your mouth shut and
ego override.
Yeah.
There's the scene.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was so great.
Don't shoot me, bro.
Don't tase me. That's what I heard in my head. Don't tase me, bro. Don't tase me. I have that meme in my head forever. So there you go.
Me too.
And this again is very much like prison life too. That the fact that the guards will take just a little bit of satisfaction in
sure.
Something
well,
like this.
and that guy was so gross too when he was talking to Tu, and he's like, "You're, you look good if you do the right thing, you'll be fine." I was like, "Oh God, this guy, he's gonna get his arm broken off."
yeah, that was very, very, very conveyed very well how skeevy he was, for sure.
Yeah, totally. I also loved it when they finally get together at the end of the episode to have dinner. It's like their little dinner table moment, which is always so important to you, I know. And then they had so 4, they're trying to discuss the different things that they've discovered, and 4 was totally disappointed that he's basically the only one who's done some reconnaissance. 3 is just off trying to get out of work detail and stuff, and he's just yeah, I actually did something, I tested out this whatever. And it was just really funny the way his looks were towards Like, are you kidding me, man? Like, did you do something else that like could be useful information?
Even though the environment changes, the characters remain pretty consistent.
Mm-hmm.
They were, yeah, true to themselves. And that's the other thing that's important. You keep your science good, you keep your characters good, you're going to have a good show. So, yeah.
Ooh, and of course, I forgot to mention Zoe and how she was like, I won't. I was like, oh, yes, this is a great moment, like for the android, because she's like, you know, she's just coming through to her own and she's refusing to do android things. And that guy's like, well, I'm going to do this to you then. And she's like, okay.
Mm.
It was, man, she was well written. And oh man, I just, in the next episode, the next thing that happens is so great. I'm just,
yeah. I mean, that's all Zoe Palmer. I mean, just kind of a brilliant performance. And I mentioned this in another episode. You know, I was heartened by the fact that people with autism or people who had family members with autism would reach out and say how much they enjoyed the character. And it's not something I even thought of at the time, but that they really connected with the android and her portrayal.
Yeah, she did so good, and it was brilliant. And I have to say, I really appreciated the physical work that all of the actors could do as well, because, you know, there were times, obviously, they were doing their own activities, their own stunts, for lack of a way of putting it. But yeah, I really appreciated that well. So yeah, I mean, everybody at least took time to, you know, learn some. It was really good. Yeah.
John Burns, thank you so much for the super chat between Calgary and Banff, Alberta. My family owns a cabin in the woods on an acreage, so it might have looked cold, but I found it safe and comforting. It was, in a certain point of view, yeah.
Prison life would have been okay with you then, at least in that
It was there, yeah.
Yeah, if he was in, you know, a tropical area, maybe not so much, because then, you know, it would be way too hot for you.
Ian, can you give us examples of something that didn't turn out the way you expected when you saw it on camera? Or does that not happen to you because you've processed it so much?
It definitely happens. I mean, I just even remember we were doing an Asian market, and we had a guy who's promised he could do the flaming block of stuff, and then just, you know, stuff like that. Just it was a dreadful flop, you know. Just like when the actors put on their resume they can ride a horse. And then,
we talked about that. I just the other week.
We did.
It was just a big disappointment. But
Yeah.
there's been so many disappointments. Some shows I can't even watch. You know, it's just so sad.
Because you know what could have been.
You know, yeah. So it's always a bit of a compromise, everything. So, but I liked it working with Joe. Where first thing he said when we started, it's like, because he'd done so many, sci-fi roots run so deeply. He said, "No, don't bring me. I don't want to redesign cups or forks or anything, because they're going to be the same in a million years from now. People still have, the function will still be the same." So that was one big thing we had as a kind of, yeah, we're not going to go and start making all our own stuff, you know, like handcraft everything to make it perfect.
Yeah, I remember one episode of Stargate where they went to visit an alien world, and they had to drink. They created these weird alien cups, and they were just impossible to drink out of it. Actually, Richard Anderson made a gag out of it, and the scene was supposed to drink out of it, and he couldn't figure out how to drink out of it. Actually, my writing partner Paul would joke about alien shovels, where in one episode they were like, "Well, we're going to design a shovel. What should it look like?" He's like, "A shovel is a shovel. If there's no such thing as an alien shovel."
That's so funny. Yeah, I remember I watched a documentary about the behind the scenes of DS9, and one of the things was about like Quark's bar and like all the different cups and stuff like that were there, and they were talking about how the set designer would like go on these kind of like, they would hit like any sort of like garage sales or like any sort of anything that they would see, and then they would find like weird cups and stuff and they would just buy it. And usually it was some stuff from like the 70s, and you know, like just like the old school people that would throw in these, you know, they're trying to sell off their old dishes, and they would find
that's exactly what Ian would do. I remember I was in the office with Jay, and he'd be like, "Ian just emailed me. He found something like, I don't know, 5,000 I don't know, some cast off iron,
yes,
you know, something industrial metals, and he needs can we okay, the purchase? He's like, sure.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that show Junk Raiders. Did you guys ever seen that?
No.
No, but
Oh my god,
I
that
could
was a
imagine.
Canadian show too. That was a Canadian show where they would like make like restaurants and stuff like that out of junk. So it was a great show. I love that show.
Ian, this shot is beautiful. Do you want to discuss a little bit about what we're looking at?
Yeah, it's the tech room, right, Joe? It's
Yep.
Yeah. So and it also played as a warden's office.
Oh really? This is the warden's office too?
Yeah, as well. It's the same windows and same. It would be a reworking of the, we'd add screens. Yeah, we didn't really. We weren't looking out onto a space station. Or it would be great if we had a really good view of the lunar planet below. But
Well, we get that out of the
we do.
the warden's office.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just another good tech room.
How long does it take? How long would this tech room have taken to be built? Just out of
It
curiosity.
was just a couple of days. We'd rework it from the other. While we went and shot something else, we'd come back in and slide in here and rework it, redress it, put in our monitors. This was a redo on the ceiling, add our cables and that kind of thing. And just a couple of days. It's not huge. Because it's all planned out. This was like all concept arted beforehand, so we had a really good plot of what we were doing each time. So we could definitely do the changeovers pretty proficiently. It wasn't like we didn't we'd have like 90% of it, and then a certain amount of it is just how's it all fit together, and what do you have to change when you actually see it in place. But it would be pre-designed pretty much. So
Well, it looks beautiful. I think
Yeah.
the fans appreciate this. Well,
yeah.
Thank you, Supreme Heretic of Bounding into Comics and of
Thank
Sickest
you.
of All.
Yeah.
Thank you, Supreme Heretic. Yeah, my
And
pleasure.
we're going to have to get Supreme Heretic rights for several online digital newspapers. We're going to have to get him on here. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
and thank you, John Burns. No, I'd probably end up in isolation so much because of accompanying the forested area up here.
That's what I figured. Typical Canadian.
Thank you, John Burns. Yeah, that could be a problem if you're always going to go into isolation.
I don't know. Still looks cold to me.
Well, what region are you from?
Oh, I'm in the desert Southwest.
Oh.
That's
I have heat. I have heat.
I've got snowmobiles.
Killing me.
I've
You're
got
killing me.
I've got snowmobiles going by outside the window.
You know, if I want that, I just go up north to my cabin and I can have, all the snow fun I want. But then I can come back home where I have, the sun.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I love Canada. Don't get me wrong.
Now, here we see with the actor Jeff Teravainen, I think is the pronunciation. And these guys, he does a great job. And how did you write his character, Joe? Do you want anything you want to say about this character?
No, I mean, he's a character that we introduced very briefly in episode 8 of season 1, and then we glimpse him in the season finale, and now sort of Jeff is really a terrific actor, and I think he's great across both these episodes, and we'll see him again in future episodes as well. And it's a classic case of someone you hire and who just delivers for you, so much so that they're a great talent, but they're also great to work with, which is why when I did, our next show, Utopia Falls, the show I was show running, we were looking to cast, and I thought, oh, he would be perfect for the role of Gerald, and we end up casting him. And you tend to sort of work with people you enjoy working with, right? If they're good at what they do and they're not crazy, then like Ian was talking about, there's the art department that he works with that, kind of moves from production to production. It's the same thing from now on when, my next sci-fi show, I'll come knocking on Ian's door, and if he's not busy, hopefully he'll he'll lend his talents to the production.
Joe, I'm sorry, I was away, but did you guys talk about that gun and that?
Oh yes,
line?
actually, there's also, I mentioned this in I think episode 9, where poor Bubba, keeps running out of charges. It's something defective with the gun, and so we actually put in the line where Jeff's character says, there was whatever, there's a problem with
broken,
the gun.
I fixed it.
I fixed it for you.
Yeah, it made me laugh because I remember that episode that you were like, "Yeah, we fixed it in season 2," and I totally forgot when that was, and I was like, "Oh my god,
Yeah, it wasn't charging right. That was such a
it
great
wasn't charging
scene.
right."
Yeah, it was so good. Yeah.
Joe, who's helping you with your casting? By the way, do you want to?
Yeah, that was Lisa Parison, who is fantastic, and she, what would happen is we would send her the scripts, and she would pull out, let's say, the scene. She would identify who the guest characters were, the scenes that she would put out in the auditions, and then she would send them out to the various agencies, and based on the sides and the character description, the agents would put forth talent, and then these people would show up at the audition or self-tape, and they would send in their material. Although in certain cases we didn't audition. I think in the case of, for instance, Mike here, I don't believe we auditioned Mike. I believe we just offered him the role. Because I'd worked with Mike before, and Mike is excellent.
He's a great actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that would be like a no-brainer. I have a question though, and that's not specifically to this show, because you mentioned you were showrunning Utopia Falls. That show is still going? Yes.
No, actually. So that show was actually created by a fellow named R.T. Thorne, a very talented guy, and I was just brought on as the showrunner. And we did a season, but we haven't heard anything about a second season. And I think it's safe to say that since the show premiered last February, and we haven't had word yet, and it's getting on close to a year, that chances are there will not be a second season.
Yeah, that was a Hulu premiere. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Just making sure.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to just remind Gap Stargate, who's helping us doing some promotional work, and Matt, who does his own Bubba gun design. You guys both have channels. Please, you guys both have wrenches. Please put put your channels up so people can sub, and please sub, of course, to everybody in the panel, including Culture and Nina. Ian, you don't have a channel by any chance, do you?
No, I don't. I've got absolutely nothing.
I think it would be amazing to see if somebody documented everything you did, like during your work. It'd be amazing to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't understand what goes into set building, set design, et cetera, et cetera. They don't get it. That's one of the most important forms of the visual arts. So,
that's what I was saying, because I never appreciated it until I went into set design, like in drama class. Like, it was so funny because I was like, I don't like, I went and talked to my drama school teacher, and I was like, I'm not really into acting, like, but I like drama. Like, what else can I do? And she was like, go into set design. Set design's amazing. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, I loved it. It's like, it's therapeutic almost sometimes, unless you're on a deadline, which is then it's like.
And that being said, of course, Joe MALLOZZI always documents his shows.
Ooh,
thanks.
look at that shot.
Look at that.
That's concept, right? Concept art.
Yeah, that's early concept art. Yeah,
Yeah, that's so great. It turned out so similar. Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. So that's Bartol Rendeluk was doing these for us, and he did the Raza stuff as well. So I think he might have been on Nightmare Alley of late. Oh yeah, there's a basic. There's your basic cell. Just build 24 of them.
Did you use Luan for the walls in the ceiling? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Now because it's tropical, now we're using stuff called Dragonply, which is,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's,
yeah. And that's 1 inch ply?
No, it's very thin. It's a
quarter inch.
Yeah.
Quarter inch.
So there'd be a 3/4 inch or half ply at the bottom, and then.
Right. Yeah. So because it's got to support the weight of your actors.
Yeah, it also supports Because we forklift them up onto the rack, so to speak. So need a certain weight.
Wow, Disney built like this when they built out their contemporary resort. This is essentially you're building a contemporary resort room right there.
It's funny. There's a prison just around the corner from where we shot this, which we watched the cells coming in boxcars, pre-made, and they plug and they play, and it's there, literally, maybe a mile from where we shot this. And it's the whole thing stacked together like that. So.
Modular construction.
Yeah.
Look at this picture. This beautiful.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, that's really early on. With it.
Yeah, it's before paint distressing and everything else.
All that stuff. Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of Star Wars: A New Hope. Before.
And that beautiful brand new seemingly ship. Yeah, just shiny and new. Yeah, you can't have a prison that's shiny and new, though. Doesn't convey the right feeling.
Joe, I've never asked you this, but do you collaborate with any kind of academic institution to have like students as part of your like volunteers or internships?
No, I mean basically I'm not averse to the idea, and certainly we've had individuals visit set, or and if someone has asked me, I've always been receptive to them sitting in on, let's say, prep week. There's a lot of young directors who shadowed, for instance, Bruce had someone shadowing, Bruce McDonald, who directs episode 2, had someone shadowing him for a couple of episodes. So I'm not averse to the idea, but it's not something that I would organize or really know anything about how to organize.
Of course, as time, the more, how do I say this? Especially the way Joe writes, like as far as information becomes an issue, right? NDAs become an issue, right? I would assume.
No, it's funny. Damn. When I first arrived, look at that beautiful lighting. When I first arrived on the Stargate set, it used to be the Lost Girl set, and there was those no tweeting, no camera posters all over. And one of the things I learned very early on Stargate is that if you enact those kind of moratoriums on photos and such, really, by the time you post them, you're essentially preaching to the converted, right? So basically, fans can see behind the scene photos or a sneak or take a look at the ship that they've already seen. But unless it's like a huge spoiler, why not show the ship? Why not show something being built? Why not show the people behind the scenes and sort of garner interest, not just with the fans looking forward to the show, but potentially new fans who
Thank you, Joe.
But it's true. I mean, as long as you're not giving anything away, it's actually a good thing.
It's called like hype. Like you want to hype up the stuff. Like cool.
Joe and Ian, I gotta say this looks like a work of art, to be honest.
It is. I'm trying to figure out all the materials right now. So, but this is great.
What about the flooring and stuff? Like, what do you use for the?
It's different. It's different kinds of plastic matting, but it's cut out, and we've got there's anchors where we could do bars and things like. It's you have to design it to be as multi-purpose as you can. There's many areas that we didn't even shoot. Like we had wild walls we never wilded in 3 seasons.
Wow.
Wow.
For me, it was always indicative of a really great director when they come in and say, "Where haven't you shot yet?" Just to find a new angle that they could sort of own on the set itself. So, because we always have a little walkthrough to introduce them to it. But,
man, that's so cool.
There's a lot of metal in there. We had a really good metal shop that would form and bend stuff off site and bring it in. The set dressers were really good at doing their own LED lighting, and this was
amazing.
We didn't like this lights in the ceiling, those pot light kind of things, ever. When we lit through them, they didn't work, so we only did it once. We never really lit through them again. It's interesting.
I have this crazy idea that if you paid Ian just a little bit more money, the ship would actually fly.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That was one thing when we were designing it originally, is that we're trying to do the floor plan and just realizing how complicated it is to try to do the layered floor plan. It's just unbelievable. I mean, the one good thing was with the 3D model that we did print or send off to Sci-Fi for people to print was probably the most detailed one in any shows ever submitted to them, I think. It was
Did they say that?
the 3D model that Victor did. We're giving it away for free. It's the same thing as oversharing on on social media, which is you just build it. It's more is more for people. We gave away the best digital model that I think, Joe, people are still printing in England and assembling and selling as.
Wow.
Yeah, but it was the production's idea. Oh, and this is the artwork from the jail cell. Or from
that was from the warden's office, right? It was on his walls. Yeah.
Can you read what it says? I mean, basically, I was kind of disappointed that you did that it wasn't featured in the episode, because I actually put it in the script because I was kind of hoping we would kind of start with the shot of this scene. I can't even read it.
It says, "My dad stole things, and in your jail now. Say hi from Timmy."
How heartwarming is that?
Yeah.
And so you had
That's funny.
you had some kids draw this.
Yeah, we actually had real kids draw this. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And of course, they didn't give it to the prisoner. They just, he hung it in his own office. Yeah. He plays such a great bad guy. It's so good.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
There were a few of them in his.
Yeah, there were a couple 3, right, on the right hand side of the set. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, like I said, I mean, this clearly made an impression on me, because I caught a lot of stuff the first time through, and then the second time through I caught more. I was like, okay,
good. That's the way you're supposed to watch it.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. I always tell people, if you get more out of it every time you watch it, it was really well made. So yeah. Details.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I know Culture and I are on a few channels together, and we always have like these in-depth discussions, and I can vouch. He always talks about how there's not enough details in different shows, and we've had a lot of discussions, and him being on this panel pleases me, because it's like he's finally happy about something, and that's
it takes a lot to make me thrilled, that's for sure, but that's okay.
So this was the early stage version of the warden's office / tech room.
Yeah, and then you can see on the right hand side of the big concept, like the concept artwork that's sort of blown up with the two different looks that we're working from. That's what that would be.
Yeah, gosh, and you're right. I mean, a director could walk in there and shoot that from a number of different perspectives and get something completely different out of it. It's just these are beautifully done. These sets are amazing.
Joe, I have a question about that, and like maybe this might be a stupid question, but you never know unless you ask. So I'm just going to ask it.
Sure.
Do you prefer to work with like multiple directors when it comes to like having a series, or do you rather work with like one director, so that because like everybody has a different vision? So
yeah, I mean, realistically, sort of some of my productions, it's always a staggered production. So essentially, when one director is shooting an episode, another one is prepping, and then when that one moves on to shoot, someone else comes in. So I mean, there are definitely directors that I really love, and I mean, you never know until you work with them. Like Ron Murphy, I'd never worked with Ron Murphy before. He's actually probably directed more episodes of Dark Matter than any other director, and he's the guy that I was introduced to on Dark Matter. Loved working with him, and that's why he directed so many episodes. Bruce McDonald, who shoots the second episode, another guy I also love. Amanda, who shoots this episode. Andy Makita, John Stead, who you guys met, who is our stunt coordinator, did all our second unit stuff. I thought his episodes were amongst my very favorites. He's a guy who should definitely be doing a lot more directing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Okay. So you like the idea of having different visions?
I don't think it's different visions. In prep week, we will talk through what kind of is expected, and it's a very collaborative effort. at the end of the day. So, I mean, the directors, you know, I guess you could call it a vision, but really, yeah, let's call it a vision. Sure.
Okay. Okay.
John Burns, thank you for the super chat. Let me pose this question to Ian. The comment is for Joe, but let me pose it to Ian. Do you think of what you're creating as another character sometimes?
Yeah, definitely. It's part of the fabric of the show as much as like one of the characters would be. Not that it should, take precedence, but if you're in an environment like the Raza, you definitely need something that's a character. It's got its different qualities and places, and so yes, definitely. But that also comes from Joe's writing and all that stuff as well. So.
And Joe, do you think of the Raza as its own character?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, very unique character.
I do too. Well, it's kind of like it's a character, but also it's Zoe's character.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of an extension of her.
Yeah, it's like they're the extension of each other. So I love that.
And it's home, right? It's like a place of safety as well. It's a place of familiarity.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I don't know. The sets are amazing. I mean,
yeah, I'm impressed. I haven't seen these sort of work in progress shots. So.
Yeah, let's scroll through.
Yeah.
And Joe's been giving us a lot of Ian. Joe's been giving us all these behind the scenes picture every week of just been an amazing experience.
Oh, there's our
that's awesome.
Authority
Cool.
badge, care of Roxanne Boris.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Joe, do you guys have merchandise?
No, we never merchandised. Sadly, no T-shirts. That was out of my hands. Oh, as much I would have loved to see some merchandising. No, that was made available.
Well, I can make you some T-shirts, Joe, if you want.
Oh, I would love some T-shirts.
I want a T-shirt.
Those are amazing.
You should make some T-shirts and you should sell them.
Yeah.
After you should design them.
Set up a Teespring account. Yeah. Joe, that's awesome. Yeah. Joe, I have a question though. So do you prefer like a long, lengthy shoot? So if somebody offered you something like I don't know, Amazon's like Lord of the Rings show or something like that, something epic, would you prefer that? Because I mean that would wrap you up for like 9 months, 10 months of the year every year.
As opposed to, I mean, Dark Matter, we. I think back we would convene the room in the summer,
right?
And then we would write through the fall, right. And then we would prep late fall, early winter, and then we would shoot around like late December to January, which would take us to around what is it, like April, May, and then we'd get like a month off, and then we'd start again. So
you just okay, all right. So it wouldn't be any different. It's not a different. Really. Yeah. Despite it being just more grandiose, then I guess.
Yeah. Although I mean, I'm sure it was different in terms. I mean, the Game of Thrones. I can't imagine how many days they had to shoot those episodes. A lot.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean we were.
3 times as much.
Yeah. And I just think that would be an inordinate amount of pressure in a much longer period of time. But I was just curious because I didn't know if there was going to be a difference between something like this with that many episodes shooting. So shooting 13 episodes is always going to take as long, no matter what it is. Then seemingly.
Usually, I mean, we were fairly tight. I think what were we, like 7 days? I think 7 days main unit and 2 days second unit, sometimes 4 days second.
Yeah, and because Ian mentioned that you spent like 30 days sometimes shooting.
Well, we go straight like work sometimes just in terms of the crew, but they shot a Monday to Friday schedule.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Per episode, it was usually 7 days of main unit, 2 days of second unit. And there's Roger showing off his new wardrobe, his new look.
By the way, you guys just reminded me on several streams yesterday, Joe's name came up and I have to ask Joe. I promised I would ask Joe.
Hmm.
Joe, if you were offered to run something like Doctor Who for the BBC, would you do it?
I don't think I'm your guy for Doctor Who. Respectfully, I mean, I think it's a great show. I just kind of know what. I mean, if they offered me, let's say, a Star Trek spinoff where I could just kind of create my crew and characters, I would certainly do that. Star Wars is another one, like Doctor Who, that is just not my thing. I think I mentioned already that I kind of got off the Star Wars train halfway through Return of the Jedi when the Ewoks, they trotted out the Ewoks, and I was like, that's it. So I don't know anything. You know, when people talk about Star Wars now,
Culture Nina and I will have a Twitter storm going by the end of the week for a Star Trek spinoff, Joe.
I would, yeah, absolutely,
Yes.
Joe. I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
dude, build your own characters. You know, they go off in the right direction. I would love to see it. That'd be amazing.
all right, talk to someone. Oh, there's Jodelle.
That's a great photo.
Well, we got to get Katie on it now. She's the most famous of us all.
Yes.
She's gonna know like studio head soon.
There you
Get her to
go.
get you that Dark Matter miniseries contract.
Yep.
You know, get her to get you a Star Trek series. There you go.
Put in a good word. Noreen Landry is our costume designer, and yes, I do intend to invite her on the show eventually.
Yes, she's great.
If you were offered to write on Cowboy Bebop, Joe, I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, Cowboy Bebop is probably the greatest sci-fi anime, or just in general, the greatest anime ever done. And I actually, say like 10 years ago, was trying to acquire the live action rights, and they were always tied up, and they went from studio to studio, and Keanu Reeves was involved, and then eventually they ended up with Tomorrow Studios and the Netflix deal. So I don't know anything about it.
Are you excited about that?
My expectations are tempered just because I love Cowboy Bebop so much
Mhm,
that
like, I don't know.
I can't imagine something being better than the anime. It could be something different and just as good. But on the other hand, it could also be terrible. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait for you to check it out and report. Okay.
Yes.
There you go. That's a good choice on that.
Oh, there we go. There's Ivan Bartok, and on the right is Lauren Bancroft Wilson, who's our visual effects supervisor. Goofing around on set. Always want to be part of the action. Oh, and there's our cell. Look at that, so sleek.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that thing on the right is the ersatz washer device.
That's a toilet.
Yes.
That's the hand washing station.
No,
So there's-
No, it folds out and does stuff. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it slides out or folds out like
Just
a.
because
Yeah.
you don't see people using it in that way doesn't mean it can't be used in that way.
Okay, fair enough.
The water closet, the WC, the toilet. Yeah,
Right.
That's so funny. I'm like,
I
I
love that.
found a flaw. I'm gonna point it out.
it's not a flaw.
You're not letting it go. Oh, and there's
No.
This is sad. This is a sad.
I
scene.
love the way you had him say, "I'm ready, Joe."
Oh yeah, right before he gets blowed away. That's really great. Thanks. I feel like who shot JR all over again.
Yeah.
there's Josie adjusting the the blood stain on his shirt.
Yeah.
Did you,
Josie Bond.
Culture? Did you see the last episode, the last week's episode? Because Mark Ben Davis was on here.
Oh really? Oh my gosh.
And we were
And he
talking
talked-
about
Yeah,
this.
we talked about.
Oh, I have sad face right now. But I love the carpet squares that are down there on the floor. I think that's cool.
Yeah, they're universally
Yeah.
used.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always said that the quarters look so comfortable that instead of paying for like a hotel, whenever we had guest stars fly in, we could just have them sleep on the Raza quarters and save the money.
Oh gosh.
You know, under the right circumstances, and as Ian mentioned, I mean, that whole warehouse got turned into a Big Brother set, right? So it wouldn't be that hard to do. I mean, essentially, that's what they're doing with Mandalorian. I mean, they're having people stay on site in that area.
Well, I think now you have to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, current circumstance, but yeah, I think, yeah, you could do that, and then that nobody would have to worry about getting to and from work, and everybody would be in the same area, and it wouldn't be bad. And think about the camaraderie you'd build on a show that would require that kind of commitment of family, because I mean essentially you're building a new family every time you do a production.
True.
I still thought that Jace Corso was gonna be back. Like I really thought that was gonna be like
no, just the bad guy. Bring the bad guy back.
Yeah. I thought like the good guy is gonna be back at some point.
What to expect.
Yeah, and that's the other really cool thing about the show is I think of them all as good guys, even though they're all bad guys.
Yeah.
So,
they are good guys.
It's nice to root. It's like, hey, I'm rooting for Darth Vader. Woot woot.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute, Culture. How much have you seen?
What do you mean?
Like,
oh no.
Of the series, like how much have you seen?
I'm a little beyond this. I'm not too far beyond this. So yeah.
I think I know where you're going, Nina.
Like you're still in the second season, is what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all.
Why are you going to make me unhappy?
No,
don't make me unhappy.
I just wanted to know what season you on. That's all.
No. I just got really excited. Somebody introduced me to this amazing program, and I get to meet the incredible creators and the people who were involved in it. And don't ruin it. I'll be very upset with you.
Right.
I'm not saying anything. I just wanted to know.
Joe, just really quick, Culture touched upon something. Do you do any rituals as far as team building that you like to do with the cast and the crew? Are there anything you like to do in particular?
Team building, no. I mean, I before the production, I tend to sort of like to take each of the cast members out, usually separately, but we always do have the cast dinner. Once production, wraps, if they're not too busy, I do like to sort of take our department heads out and for a nice meal and say thank you.
Sorry, it's the psychologist in me asking.
Yeah.
You know what a good team building thing is though, is those escape rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Getting out of those things together and like working together to figure it out, it's a challenge. It can be.
We haven't seen Ian in 2 weeks. Who's building our set?
You'll probably find flaws in like in the escape room. Like, who built this? This could be done better.
Look, there's our Jace Corso and
no. So sad.
All right.
Mm.
These badasses.
The baddies.
Yeah.
They all look so mad, so in character in this.
Oops, sorry.
My wife's always like, "Oh, you gotta get a bit of camera." And here it's coming together now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So nice.
How much time was spent on the common area here, Ian?
Not much. It was just thrown together like in a day at the bottom. Like other than getting these, they're not super custom made benches. I just remember the lighting was the sort of last thing we put in, obviously, and that floor is all padded. But 90% of the set's just all about getting the ceiling in the air and putting the cells up on a structure. Yeah, so. We didn't do a lot of stuff on the floor, as it were, but I don't remember there being a lot of variation either for looks on the floor either. We had the feeding station and that was it. We just moved the tables around. Mm-hmm. It was sort of a hard one to do these kind of tables without custom making them. So they're not so real world.
Yeah. Thank you, John Burns. Hollywood movies. You want to make dollars? Have a movie about a boat meeting up with an iceberg. Meanwhile, in Japan, Godzilla. Thank you, John Burns. And we have a few pictures left. Thank you for hanging in with us, Ian. We're almost.
There's
There's
Amanda, and behind her is our first AD, Brandon. Karen.
Oops. I keep hitting the wrong one. And another great shot.
The overhead shot. Nice.
Ooh, that's really nice.
I love the design.
You know, the I gotta say, Joe, for a change of pace to our brand new season, you guys did an amazing job to just change the tone of everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was quite the change. I mean, obviously the location as well, but we lose a major cast member. We bring in some other cast members.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's Jeff and Roger, who hang out whenever Roger comes to town. Roger's shooting coroner here.
Oh, nice.
With Victoria, I guess.
There's the whiskey.
Is that a picture of Joe?
It's Joe.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, who made that?
Oh,
That was
Roxanne.
yeah.
Yeah.
Roxanne.
That's
That was you, Ian?
Mhm.
That's cool.
Beautiful. Wow.
Another angle.
Oh yeah. That's not here.
Ooh.
So realistic.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. So realistic.
Now, Ian, is this a how many people are working on this image?
But one person. That's just Bartol. He said.
That's wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's and he'd sort of do one of these every other day.
Amazing.
He also we worked a lot together on various projects. But,
What is he using exactly? Is he using just the Unreal Engine and Maya, or
mostly Photoshop, and believe it or not,
really?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He might be into Blender now and more Maya, but I don't know that he's modeling as much as just freehanding stuff.
Wow.
So it could be some SketchUp as well earlier on, but
Right. Wow.
I know a lot of people are using ZBrush now for those kind of
that's
things
it.
too.
We're doing on Titans this sort of half ZBrush. Depending on who's doing what.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm watching some guys do some VR creation.
We did.
Yeah.
We actually did a lot of VR on this, and we were using it just as a good show. Put a
Previs.
a SketchUp model, simple
Yeah.
stuff, and then they have a whole VR room over at the Expanse where everyone's walking through on that. So we're trying to set it up. We're trying to do smaller ones where we're not doing full VR, but we're just doing it on a phone. With the sort of the mock VR headset on a phone, which is just simpler, especially because of COVID. You don't want to, you can't you can't have people with headsets, that sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
Joe, any thoughts did you have any thoughts of having Amanda on as a cameo guest star? Or?
In fact, actually, originally I was going to have her guest or do a cameo as the lawyer in the first two-parter, but she was like, I'm just too busy directing and I can't do it. So we, I didn't think of it.
Yeah. Wow.
Once again, you had so many powerful women in this episode too, because you had the lawyer chick, and she was like, she was really cool, badass. And then you had the investigator, and then of course you had Nyx, and like all these powerful women stepping up.
I can pretend to. Sort of rare picture of Alex Mallory Jr. smiling, and then here he is smiling with John Stead, who we all know.
And that's his son behind him too, right?
Oh yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It's so weird to see Four smile.
Yeah.
We had a great interview with John, when he was here earlier.
What are you guys doing? The cat's sad. You're not even sitting.
And this is they're filming right at this moment, right, Joe?
Yeah. Yep. This is the big fight where Ford's testing out the. Oh no, is this where he's testing out, or where basically they kind of approach the table, and he basically instigates the fight, and then he sits down and eats while the kind of a fight happens around him. Oh, and there's poor Jodelle. This is where look at her.
That's a great picture.
That's so cute.
Oh,
there you go.
There you go.
That's the stuff.
My.
Yeah.
No bueno.
Yeah. No.
Prison gruel.
So I was trying to find the word. It's not quite oatmeal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have words that are not complimentary.
Me neither.
Disgusting.
Like I figured it was like oatmeal, like what? Because they're actually eating it, so it has to be edible.
Yeah. See, this picture would make a great T-shirt.
it would, yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Wow, Joe, do you want to just mention that? What is there any policy for the fans as far as making T-shirts?
No, I mean, this would also be a question for Prodigy Pictures, but they're not really actively merchandising anything, so you're not really cutting into any of
Licensing.
So I certainly have no problem with it.
I think if you make like your own kind of thing, it's your own art design anyway. Like I don't think because it would be like then it's kind of like fair use or whatever. It's like fan art.
This would be really easy to put them in the mean streets and some different clothing. Creative person could do that.
Yeah.
Gap Stargate asks, "What are the key foreshadowing moments in this episode, Joe?"
Oh,
without spoilers.
Ooh.
Think
the Knicks thing.
Well, I mean, obviously the Knicks, the way Knicks fights. I mean, kind of the Alex Nero thing.
I was going to say
Six and the way where he's headed. I would have to think back there, but we were constantly layering in little seeds that we kind of sort of pay off later on down the line. So, I would have to review the episode.
Yeah.
Ian, I thank you so much for being part of this. It was an honor to have you here.
Thanks for having me. That's fun.
Yeah.
Is there other apart than Titan? Is there anything you're working on with more personal, more autonomously, or is there anything you're doing that you want to get the word out?
A couple of friends have some small movies they're trying to get made. So there's a couple of those always in the works, just to see when timing works out and if they ever get the money. So there's a couple of those. I actually just finished one that Jeremy Boxon, who's a producer director I worked with. We just finished. It took a year to do a 5-day shoot. We just finished like 2 weeks ago, and so I'm working on a couple of those things generally. I think Titans is got at least two or three more seasons to go. It's for sure. So
2 or 3,
maybe.
Oh, wow! Imagine having that luxury.
I know.
And by the way,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Finishing it. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say I did the last 2 seasons of Killjoys as well, but they were back to back. They were sort of right, with a little break in between them.
By the way, any projects that I say this to both Joe and Ian and anybody, any projects that are like looking to get off the ground, we are always happy to interview them here if they have any interest.
Right.
Oh, cool.
And Joe, do you, thank you so much. Any final words for Ian and for episode 2? I mean, episode 1 of season 2.
Ian, great seeing you, and hopefully
thanks.
we can do dim sum once the dust settles on this pandemic, 2022ish.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ian, so much. Thank you, Nina, Culture,
Thank
Joseph.
you.
So nice to meet you, Ian. So
Oh,
nice to meet you.
my
Thank you for
my
being
great
here.
pleasure. Oh,
And thanks, Culture, for discovering the show.
oh my gosh! And
making it a spot.
I'm bouncing off the walls. You have no idea how it's great to be excited about stuff. So thank you for making it. My goodness, you guys are. Thank you. Thank you.
And Nina, as always, a pleasure. PJ, thank you for
Wow.
organizing.
Joe, any season, any comments for next episode?
Next episode, during the gallery shoot for season 1, I had Jodelle pick up Baba, and I took a photo of her, and I was like, you know what? I've got to write that into an episode. And so, really, what this second episode came down to is her with the gun, and also there's a moment where she says, "Kill them all," which is kind of like a high point of the moment for me that ended up being the episode title. By the way, this is the season where the fans chose the episode, started picking the episode titles, and not surprisingly, they chose "Kill Them All" for episode 2 without actually knowing what how it figured into episode 2. But in the end, I thought it was apropos.
Nice.
And so do I.
Well, again, thank you, Ian. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Culture, Katie, and Adega. Thank you, Time Prophet, John Burns for the Super Chats, Jeff Beeler, Drew, Gap Stargate, Colin, Rapunzel, Louise, everyone who's been here, TT, Jim Henry, yes and again, everybody who's been in here. Thank you so much. Happy New Year, everybody. Season 2 is going to rock, and so we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Thank you all.